It's time for the Maximum PC No BS podcast, episode 233 for the week of September 30th. This week we have a special guest in the form of SteelSeries. We'll be discussing their new line of products and much more. With that said, here we go. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Jimmy Thang, and joining me as usual are Maximum PC Editor-in-Chief Gordon Mung.
Hello.
And Tech Editor Tom McNamara.
Greetings.
And we have three SteelSeries reps in the room. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Sure. Tori, go for it.
All right. I'm Tori Puglisi. I'm part of the SteelSeries PR team. Been a part of this crew for quite a long time, so glad to meet you guys here.
Cool.
My name is Travis Easel. I'm with SteelSeries PR. I handle mostly North America. I work with Tori quite a bit, and then we also have Jamie over there, who's our Chief Marketing Officer.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't have enough mics, so
So we put our boss in the corner.
I wish I could do that to Gordon. Go in the corner now. Well, that's cool. So, I mean, I noticed you guys have brought some very colorful headsets.
Yeah, so we've got our new Sibera lineup here for the remainder of the year. That's going to be coming out in quarter four. Started out with the obvious one. I think everyone might be catching their eye on is the Sibera V3 full-size gaming headset. It has a retractable microphone, super lightweight, reinforced steel headband on the top. Everything that's familiar with the original Sibera and then the Sibera V2, but we went back in and upgraded it a little bit. So there's more acoustics inside of the ear cups for deeper sound that you would get than the Sibera V2. We also have some aesthetic upgrades, so on the outside it looks a little bit different on the grill on the outside, as well as the eye holes for the suspension.
Cool. Are you guys familiar with Sibera at all? Like, have you tried those on before? And
A
stuff?
little bit.
Yeah. So like the suspension system is meant for making it super lightweight and comfortable. So it wasn't just like, hey, we used an expensive plastic to make it light. That's really not the design of it. It's really the suspension system that makes it more comfortable and light. And then other upgrades that Travis mentioned that I probably think are worth kind of like driving home is just the actual audio drivers themselves. We're using 50 millimeter drivers, but the difference with this one is the space inside of the actual ear cup, the audio space between the driver itself and where it lies within the ear cup, I think is what helps improve the sound on this one. Ultimately, our headsets are gaming headsets. I mean, that's who we are, where we come from. So you'll always hear really tweaked highs and mids. What we did a little bit different with the V3 is that we didn't forget about bass, in the pure fact that most game titles are not just, FPS first-person shooters where you need to hear footsteps and bullets dropping. You want to hear some of that really cool audio that sound designers created in the background as well, which has some solid bass to it. So that's our Sibera V3. They are available in black and white. These are launching on the 30th.
You mean today?
Yes, I do mean today.
Yes.
And they're $99. So a real refresh to the Sibera line. That's kind of the core of it.
So are all of these the V3? All three of these appear?
They're all the V3.
Okay.
This one that has a lovely little glow to it. These are our Sibera V3
Yeah, so we have a
Prism.
camera. We have a couple
Cool.
cameras here.
I don't know if I'm doing it much justice.
So they all light up then?
Yeah, so anything that has the word prism behind it, what you can tell in our system is that the obvious, right? It's illuminated. That's what prism to us means. But even more so, it means that it's compatible with our SteelSeries engine software. So anything that has prism behind it means it has all of our software capabilities to it. There's a USB sound card included, and then you can manipulate all your equalizer settings, your microphone settings, and obviously your illumination.
So these are actually, all three of these are traditionally analog, right? So they're analog to USB.
The V3 are actually analog headsets. The V3 Prism is a USB headset. So they come with a one pole connection, and then they have a extension cord with the two prong.
Is that because of the power you need? You can't obviously drive power through an analog.
Yeah, it's
Right.
exactly. It's the power you need, and honestly, whenever you see a USB cable from us, it will be tied to the word Prism, and that will ultimately mean illumination and our software.
Okay. Can I ask a little bit of a nerdy question?
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a split in among PC gamers. Some still prefer, if you're traditional like me, I still have a sound card,
right?
Which is probably like 1 out of 50, right, these days. So I still actually run analog, and actually motherboard audio has gotten pretty good.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are running USB as well. Are you guys seeing which way is the split going? Is it mostly USB versus analog, or?
I mean, you can answer that, and I kind of have my own opinion.
Yeah. I mean, from what I see, I've always been a pretty avid gamer, and always when I'm traveling, I want the same audio no matter where I'm going. So I'm more to go to the side of a USB sound card personally. Okay. But as far as like our customers are concerned, I mean, there are still people out there that have, they spend $200 on a sound card, and that's why we have an analog offering, right? They're not going to necessarily need this, but if they do want a more premium, audio experience, then using motherboard audio, they're just going to use the USB instead. It's a better offering.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, it's how you play too. I mean, if color is really important to you and setting profiles, I mean, literally the first thing you do when you take stuff out that has illumination out of a box, you probably tweak your colors. Maybe you're the exception, but
well, I like I love LEDs and lights. I just added some more fans in my case with more LEDs.
Oh, nice. Okay,
so makes it faster.
Yeah. I think it's like one of the first things you tweak because it's like the easy thing to do because it looks whatever you like. It looks nice, right? But I don't know. For us, it was also one of those points where if you are in a tournament setting and they don't allow USB connection.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, right, because they're using a right.
Yeah. So, these are ultimately, we utilize these for our teams or, we expect people that are part of the esports world to be using Siberia. So.
And for people to know, that's probably prevent cheating, right? So they don't want anything in USB because they don't want you to load anything on the machine that would let you cheat. In
you could have potentially
exactly.
stuff on there.
Yeah. Exactly. So so the Siberia V3, that's a $139.99 price point. So, you kind of get that that's the core of the Siberia lineup. We launched the Siberia Elite last year, probably right around this time. And that was really that's our top of the line in our Siberia headset. It's a $200 headset. I mean, it's all of your bells and whistles. You get Dolby Surround if that's what you like. You have all of the SteelSeries engine settings. You have like an upgraded feel to them, more cushion. The suspension system is a little more reinforced with the steel arc to it. So you get more for your money. What we are doing today actually is refreshing the Siberia Elite, and we're calling it Siberia Elite Prism to kind of fall with that same name style. But ultimately, we've made some minor tweaks to it. We thought if you're going to purchase what we call the top of our line, then it really should be. And we felt that there were some things that could be improved and better since we launched the last one. So the comfort of it was first and foremost. I mean, for us, Siberia means comfort internally, and we hope that expands to people that wear them. And when we launched the original Elite, we heard from some people it wasn't as comfortable as they thought it should be. So we changed a few things to it. We changed the suspension system. We made it a little bit looser. And we increased the size of the inner ear cushions. So it gives you more space for your ear, but it also gives you more space from where the driver unit is. So the sound actually is a little bit better too.
Is it over the ear or on the ear?
It's over the ear.
Okay.
It's over the ear. So
there were some people with the original one that would put them on and they would kind of like mush their ear. Mm-hmm. So that's why we widened this open. So now
increase the size to it, yeah. And then the other big one is the microphone. The microphone system, if you had tried out the original Elite, it was like this massive boom mic, and it was a new microphone. We were trying out something new. We wanted to upgrade it, and it literally would like pop out and hit you in the nose. So we obviously decreased the size of that, but our H wireless headset, the microphone on that is what we consider our top of the line microphone, and we've put that mic into this headset as well. So we've changed the microphone for that one.
Is it noise canceling mic, I imagine, or is it?
It actually is not a noise canceling mic. It's unidirectional, but the software in SteelSeries Engine allows it to be just like passive noise, where it's not noise canceling. It's like passive noise reduction on the microphone.
I noticed that all these seem to be wired, and I guess you guys aren't doing a refresh of the wireless headset.
Yeah, these are all wired. These are all, our PC, use them for mobile tablet, use them for your PS4, but they're not wireless. We still have our H wireless headset, which I love.
I know you guys love too.
Yes, I've said this before on the podcast, but I like wireless headsets so I can use them while I'm in the restroom.
Just don't forget to mute, right?
Yeah.
Awkward moment
Yes.
if you're on Skype.
Cool. I mean, speaking of like really colorful stuff, it seems like right now the new hotness is like colored keyboards and stuff like that. Like Corsair just announced released a new RGB keyboard.
Sure.
Do you guys? I mean, you guys make a bunch of peripherals. Are you guys planning to release something like that as well?
I feel like we almost kicked off that trend in a way with CES about 2 years ago when we announced the Apex, which was full 16.8 million color options, but it wasn't in mechanical form. I can't say anything too much, but
I mean, it seems like the right way to go.
yeah, it seems like that's a
You know.
move in the future.
Okay. So, is the Elite Refresh, is that still $200 price point?
Yeah.
Yeah, same price point. So these are $99, $139,
Okay.
$199, and then the last one is our entry level addition to the Siberia lineup. It's called
Okay.
the Siberia Raw Prism.
Okay.
So it's a standard USB connection, which means you can activate it via SteelSeries Engine 3. So you get a 5-band EQ, you get the 16.8 million color illumination options. It's super lightweight. You definitely want to like.
That one
feel
has a very like Portal-esque vibe to it.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. We've been calling it the Tron headset because once you
Oh,
get.
yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
This.
It's
laptop
I mean
up.
we when we ever said like, you know, you wanted to enter into buying a gaming headset, you had to spend $100.
Oh,
you know,
Mike.
sorry, you had to
Pretty
spend
late.
$100. That was what the Siberia V1, V2 was all about. And then when we launched the Elite, you know, it kind of started to round out the whole lineup for us, where it was
Okay.
like, well, if you were going to have this as the core, you know, this is where you would, you know, this is ultimately what you would invest in. But if you wanted something a little more premium, a little more higher tier, you wanted all the bells and whistles, you would purchase an Elite Prism. So that kind of allowed us to like open the gates and say, well, listen, if you really want a gaming headset, but you can't invest $100 or you're not really sure that this is the right brand for you, maybe you'd be interested in trying out the start of the line. And that's what the Siberia Raw Prism's about. It's a $60 price point headset. The cool part of it, you know, aside from having this like very lightweight, similar style to Siberia, it actually, you get the engine settings that you would get with all of the other products. So you can actually, you know, tweak up to 5-band equalizer settings, set unlimited profiles. You get that whole engine experience and what it's like to, you know, save your details when you're playing games and launch them up when you launch your games. So it's a really cool offering at a pretty decent price.
So how do gamers pick headsets? I mean, it seems like it's one of those things that's so personal because I have a big fat head. Some people have small heads. You know, you have different size ears, and is it comfort that's mostly the driver for people?
I mean, I think it is. I mean, I think your headset choice comes down to like two things, right? I think you expect that it's going to be good audio. You should just expect that. You know, you're going to invest in it. I think it comes down to, all right, how much do I want to look like a helicopter pilot, right? Or I want something, you know, something large and in charge of my head. You know, so style and comfort. And comfort is subjective, you know, like you said, everyone has a different size head. But what we tried to do with this was make sure that the simple things like the openings of the inner ear cushions made sense and fit around the majority of ear sizes. What's cool about Siberia is that the overhead suspension system allows it to adjust to most headsets, like most head sizes. So, you know, most headsets have similar to what this does, which is the clicky. You know, some guys have, you know, and girls have giant noggins, and maybe they need something a little bit larger, and that's what, you know, that's what the suspension system does. So I think you're totally right. It's definitely comfort, but I also think it's about, you know, what you want to wear on your head. You know, and if you're cool with something big and clunky, go for it. If you want something a little more sleek but still gives you good audio, I mean, I think Siberia is a good option.
So I use the Corsair Vengeance 2100 myself, the wireless headsets, and I like them a lot. But my biggest problem with them is that it's closed ear and it gets awfully warm.
Yeah.
Like, how do you guys combat that? The heat, just like wearing it for an hour or two, is just, I need to take it off because my ears are sweating.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to dominate the conversation.
No, go for it.
I think there are a couple things. I mean, you have to recognize what you're going to get with what you're buying, right? You have a leather padded headset that's a closed type headset, you're going to get sweat around your ears. If you have an open type headset, which is what the V3 offers, there's actual, you know, the grates aren't just there for style. It brings air in and lets air release. So it lets your ear breathe a little bit. So if you have an open type headset, it's not noise canceling, obviously, but if it's good passive noise reduction, you'll cancel out what's going on around you, and your ears will still be able to breathe, so you can play for hours at a time, and you don't get that weird ear sweat situation.
And did you mention that these headsets support surround sound?
So the Sibera Elite supports the Dolby surround sound, Dolby 7.1. And you do a good job of explaining how it actually works.
Yeah, so this uses Dolby Pro Logic 2X, and basically utilizes the Doppler effect and pushes air in different directions to take the 5.1 signal and then turn it into simulated 7.1.
Okay.
So it's a lot of interesting technology. Actually, when we were testing this, the first one last year before we came out with it, we were blowing out the ear cups because there wasn't enough air that would get out because we were pushing too much of it. So that also helps with why we widened the ear cup a little bit as well, to help that air from pushing stuff out of place and ultimately just not making it as good of an experience as you want. But yeah, there's a lot of air that gets pushed out of these through that, and it's interesting.
It is a single driver though, right? I mean, it's not like, because there have been headsets, and there still are, where they have
they'll put
seven
in
discrete
exactly
different drivers.
No, this is just one. Yeah.
Is that? And I think for a lot of people who filtered audio, Dolby is pretty awesome. It works pretty well, but I mean, for a lot of people that can't make the distinction, they really have to have the discrete drivers. Have you guys ever considered playing there, or is it just the problem is it gets too heavy? Because remember there have been ones where they put the driver on top and they piped it down through the bands into the
I think
cups.
I know what you're talking about. I think they might have been like Psychos or something.
Yeah,
like that.
It's been a while. So.
It's definitely been a while.
Yeah.
No, like Tori had said, we try to build our stuff to be as comfortable as possible. You want to be able to wear this for 8 hours at a time and forget that you're ultimately wearing a headset, because you want to be in the game while you're playing and not being worried about. It feels like I'm wearing a fireman's helmet, which a lot of those headsets feel like after
I mean,
an
if
hour.
you tell our R&D team to figure out a headset where we can throw in 7 speakers, I mean, then it's like candy store, But
right.
I don't
it just
think
has to
it's
come with
practical.
a brace that sits
totally.
on your shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, and that's where Dolby Digital comes in. It's manipulated. It's not true.
Yeah, which I mean, it works for a lot of people, but then some people
Sure.
it just doesn't. Surround audio is very difficult for people.
It is. I mean, it's
yeah.
difficult on a headset because it's in such a small place.
But at least it's more controlled than the old, filtered audio where they with two ones. Remember, of course,
Sure.
you have. So at least if it's on your head, at least you have more control than just
Sure.
stereo speakers on your
and where you're placing them, and
Right.
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, so it's really just the Sibera Elite Prism that has the Dolby surround sound. All of the other headsets are stereo.
And it's not a separate dongle. It's actually integrated into it, because there have been headsets in the past where, not from you guys, where it's a separated dongle, so you can run them either analog or USB. This is
so
pure USB all the way.
You actually can do
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah. So the thing with this one is.
Are we-
Hold on, I have to go-
That's actually a handy feature.
Yeah, so for
so it's a
that
dongle.
particular reason, it's a dongle. This is the card
Okay.
in here.
Right.
Yeah, so with the Sibera Elite, it comes with an 8-pin connector, and you can then take that 8-pin connector and then put in 3.5 millimeters, and then also a single one. So you can use this on your mobile phones if you wanted to as well, but you can also plug this into a sound card if you decide you don't
Okay.
want to use our USB sound card.
And it actually does come with, so if you can use it with your sound card or use it with your phone.
Yeah, out of the
Comes with all
box,
that.
it uses multi-platform.
Okay. And of course, you can't light it up since you need power from USB.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I've seen some headsets, like I think Cooler Master made a headset that is actually analog, but it also has a USB component that basically lights up the headphone as well. Have you guys considered anything like that, or is that just too many wires?
I feel like I've seen that on the drawing board. I don't know that it's actually ever been something that we're like, let's bring it to market.
Gotcha.
So do all of these guys get the 5-band EQ, or is it just the USB based?
Just the USB ones.
That makes sense.
Cool. One product that you guys released that I played around with a little bit that I actually kind of liked is the Sensei wireless gaming mouse.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of traction in the wireless gaming, mouse place? Or
Yeah, so
is it
we've
mostly
seen a
wired?
lot of great feedback, whether it be through other reviews or through just the consumers as a whole, that they're ultimately having a better wireless experience than they anticipated before buying the mouse. we had said initially when we launched the product that it is a 1 millisecond response time wirelessly, and it truly is, and people are extremely happy with the purchase they're deciding to make. So from there, I mean, I'd love to see where we can go next, but so far the response has been really good towards it.
I think it's like one of those things, right, where it's preference. You're making an obvious choice to buy a wireless mouse. You're not like, well, I want to buy a wired mouse that might have a wireless feature to it. Like you're buying, when you choose to buy a wireless mouse, you're buying it for its wireless capabilities. I always think it's a bonus that most wireless mice have like a connection to it, and a lot of our pro players actually have been using it that way. Just because they feel like they can't necessarily trust it, although we feel like
even the 1 millisecond, I guess it's still something compared to like straight up USB wired.
It is, but I mean, can you recognize it? I don't know. I mean, I challenge you.
I'm not a pro player, so I don't know. Maybe they can.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, we all played at that level, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
There's probably at a certain level, like, they can. Yeah. Like, the shoes do make a difference on Kobe, but for me, it's like, you're not gonna. I'm not gonna dunk with the Magic shoes on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Still want that pair of Jordans, though.
Right, of course.
Yeah, I was looking at your guys' website. I was looking at the esports page, I think it was, and looking at some of the games you guys sponsored. You guys have a bunch of different games, but I noticed that I don't think League of Legends was on there. Which seems like a big, a huge PC franchise.
So we do sponsor teams in League of Legends. It's more based out of Europe, though. So we work with Fnatic, Copenhagen Wolves, Ninjas in Pajamas. We have a presence as far as LCS goes. It's just not over here in North America. But that could be coming in 2015. You never know. So
cool. Out of curiosity, have you guys experimented with Wi-Fi Direct? NVIDIA was basically saying that's like a faster way to do, Wi-Fi than say Bluetooth. I don't know how it compares against USB.
I don't 100% know. I think that would be something definitely for.
Yeah,
our
I honestly don't.
I
can't even BS an answer for you there because I don't know.
Gotcha. One cool device that I saw at E3 was from, I think you pronounced it Rocket. And that was I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's the Sova. It's like a keyboard, wireless keyboard that you put on your lap that has a little mouse pad attached on the side that allows you to plug in a wired USB mouse.
Yeah.
So it basically turns a wired mouse into a wireless one so that you can play your games, from the comfort of your couch. I think that's really cool. As far as I know, they're the only ones that are making something like that. Do you guys have any plans to branch out and make accessories that are good for the living room? I
mean, I can't speak to that type of thing specifically, but I can speak to our H Wireless and its multi-platform compatibility. I mean, it does work on Roku, Apple TV. It also is cross-platform on Xbox 360, Xbox One. We're working on PS4, PS3, PC, mobile. So it does cover pretty much everything. So that's where we kind of went first in the audio category. Mice and keyboards and that type of setup is something to be determined. I'm not sure if there's any plans on it yet, but we're definitely looking towards what happens when you stand up and get away from your PC.
Right, because Steam machines supposedly are coming any day now.
Right.
Yeah. Making that push into the living room, and it seems like that's where the PC is struggling right now in the living room, and hopefully that fills that niche there.
Yeah.
But there aren't the accessories there yet.
Yeah.
It's funny because when probably a couple of years ago we were talking about how if we were to make a controller like for console, how would we make a controller better, right? I mean the controllers that exist now, I mean they're pretty solid. You can make tweaks to it, but you're not gonna.
Valve.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's true. But I mean, we kind of felt like you couldn't really like make dramatic changes to something that to something like that unless you actually had something where you can put it on your lap and use a keyboard and mouse in your living room setting. So it's definitely something that our team has talked about because I've definitely been in those conversations, but there isn't a product.
It is. I mean, it's been the holy grail of living room PC gaming for long. I remember this goes all the way back to the Phantom Lapboard. If everybody recalls that one, right? That it's a cool concept. Didn't really go over that great, but I think everybody wants to be able to use mouse and keyboard in the living room.
I mean, that's the best version of control, right? So, I mean, why not? I wonder, will you put an apparatus on your lap, on your couch? I don't know.
I was thinking about doing, using a wireless keyboard and a wireless mouse and then putting it on, a TV tray, but it's just...
It's too janky, right?
It's too janky and...
Yeah, I imagine the console people actually laugh at us if you want to do that. You got to get your TV tray out. Take off your TV dinner first. And then
You almost need 2 TV trays because the keyboard's too wide, and then you're not gonna have space for the mouse.
Yeah, unless there's a whole.
I'm just saying, I would love to have something like that. So if you guys,
We'll put it in the suggestion box. I mean,
Sweet.
I think we're always looking to challenge our R&D team. So,
Speaking of R&D, I'm also a big fan of VR, and Oculus Rift just recently had a summit thing this past weekend, and it seems like the biggest gap that they have to cross is again the peripheral space.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any plans to make any accessories for VR, like motion controls or what have you?
So, do you want me to?
Yeah, if you want to go for it.
So I think the closest thing to that, honestly, is have you guys been briefed? I think we talked to you really quickly about our Sentry eye tracker.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys about that.
So,
too.
I mean, when you're talking, virtual reality, it's not necessarily a VR product, but it is something where you're using a different part of yourself to control and sort of tweak your gameplay.
Can you guys describe what that is for the...
Sure.
Yeah, so it uses 3 cameras and 1 infrared sensor, or flip that. No, 1 camera, 3 infrared sensors. There we go. To basically track your eyes and then be able to translate that into what we're going for is a game analyzer feature, which we showed you a little bit at E3 when you stopped by. You'll be able to go back through replay of Dota 2, StarCraft 2, League of Legends, and be able to see where you were looking at that exact time through a tracer off of the software. And then also you'll be able to live record, your teammates as well. So if you have 5 people set up, you can see where all 5 people are looking at the same time, then skin that over with a heat map to see where you're looking the most. If you're concentrating on too much, measuring fixations, which is something that we're going to try and define as an industry term to be able to, when you're looking at something for more than, 0.3 seconds?
It's 3 milliseconds.
Yeah, it's 0.3 seconds, then it will mark it as...
It's considered a fixation, or staring at the screen for a certain amount of time. So, the higher your fixations aren't necessarily a better thing, because you want to be able to, your eyes should be moving around the screen pretty quickly. So the goal with the Sentry eye tracker is to be able to really benchmark your statistics against pro players, right? So Dendy, for instance, if he's playing, he might have fixations per minute of 805. An average player that plays Dota 2 maybe 20 hours a week has fixation of 2,800 fixations per minute.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, so the goal is to really...
You're just looking at things. It's not like you're lifting
My
dumbbells.
eyeballs would be
That's
so
like me.
tired.
But still, I mean, it explains why I suck at games. Oh, look at that. Oh, I'm dead.
It's supposed to give you a better frame of reference. It's the best comparison for it is when you're running and you're trying to improve as a runner, you put on maybe a heart rate monitor to know sort of how to track your body and see where you're burning stuff. It's the same idea with the eye tracker. It's a small bar that literally lives right underneath your monitor, and it'll track your eye movements.
And the product's already, you're still playing with it.
Yeah, so we partnered with Tobii Technology. They're basically the eye tracking experts, and they have helped us develop this particular product for gaming specifically. So we are working with them right now on creating these benchmarks with our pro players, and actually defining what fixations per minute are, right, and why players should actually care about it. So that's something we started showing off at E3, and I'm hoping that the end of this year we'll have some more news about it for you guys.
So, but the idea is you're going to use it on the pro guys, and then they can use it to analyze how to get better themselves, and then it's sort of like technology that they use in Formula One or the Olympics, and you get to use Lance Armstrong's without the doping. Bicycle,
exactly.
Right, eventually. So.
Exactly. I mean, it's like a virtual coach, right? Instead of having one of the team coaches hovering over your shoulder, it's kind of like, our version of coaching you how to be a better player.
You need Madden. You have to hire Madden and then have the instant replay and the drawing.
Here's a guy. That's what he's
screen.
talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Bam!
So are you guys working with pro players and mapping their eye movements and all that stuff right now?
Yeah, so all that's going to be recorded, and then you'll be able to, if you play Invoker as your main main hero in Dota, you'll be able to compare a live track with a pro and see what they're looking at a certain time and maybe where you messed up, right? So it's all being able to look at pro players from an amateur perspective and what they're doing that you're necessarily not picking up on, and how you can learn off of that. And then even if you're a pro, if there's the opportunity to someone you're going to be competing with in LCS, right, for League of Legends. If you're able to get more information on that player, how does that change the outcome of the game? How are you planning, like, as a team, strategy-wise, before the game, based off of looking at their habits a little bit more in depth, right? So there's a lot of interesting things that can happen with it. We're basically working out the details to make sure you're able to get that.
And that's like that's the kind of the first piece of it. For us, that's the cool part. We get to help people like become better players. There's actually another arm of what the Sentry Eye Tracker, is going to be able to do, and Toby's actually working with folks like game developers, the folks over at Overwolf, and we're actually going to be able to utilize your eyes as another form of controller. So imagine give me a really good example of how we would use your eyes in a game.
Like Superman shooting a laser out of his eyes.
Right. So
it's exactly like that.
So, for example, my favorite thing to do right off the bat is in StarCraft 2 to load up and be able to bind a key on my mouse, hold it down, and then look on the mini-map at a certain spot, and then the screen actually will just snap there. So there's no longer a need for me to hit Control and go to the F keys to map my camera and be able to spam that to check different areas. I can just do that off of looking at the mini-map and holding down the trigger. So instead of having to move my mouse and click down on the mini-map and the screen snaps, I just look at the mini-map with my eyes, and it'll snap to it.
So would it be possible to integrate head tracking into this, to like move the camera around with your eyes?
Hey, I mean, we're talking purely eyes right now, but I mean, when you start there, I kind of feel like there's maybe not a limit, and maybe that whole becomes an entire virtual reality.
Cool.
Yeah, we're going exploring, so
Cool.
We'll see what comes out of it.
Cool.
Going back to what you just said about the looking at the map and then it going there. That sounds like good on paper, but I feel like it could be kind of, if it's not exact, if it's not perfect, it will be like totally wonky to especially pro gamers.
Yeah, definitely. It's not something like when you set up the Sentry, and what we've tested so far is it's a quick 10-minute calibration process, and then you're able to save that through the SteelSeries engine, and then you'll be able to save multi-profiles too. So if we set all three of you guys up, we could load up different ones for each one, so that way you don't have to go through the calibration process, and it's automatically going to be fit to your eyes.
And then you said earlier that you can compare your eye stats to, like, say, Dendy in that situation. But isn't gameplay always like dynamic and it's not really a one-to-one situation?
Sure,
So
definitely.
How do you like?
And that's where it comes into. We're going to be doing some more advanced stats as well. So like how many times we'll be able to zone on the actual map. So they'll be able to target like Roshan Pit. How many times does he look to that? When does he look? And then you'll be able to take the times of when they typically would look at that, to be able to find out when, the timings were and how much, like at 15 minutes he's going to check there. And he seems to do it every single game. Well, what's the timing for the reason on that? There's a lot of exploring that the actual players, the amateur players, are going to be able to have to do a little bit to figure out, like, why are they looking in this certain area. So it's more of an education process that this helps.
Yeah. I mean, we're still learning as we're testing too. And, it's one of those things where it definitely falls into our innovation category.
Sounds like you guys are gonna have to hire some like data scientists or something. That sounds like get pretty sophisticated.
Yeah, we have a pretty decent sized team working on it right now. So
yeah.
At some point, though, I wonder, could you actually have a product where you sell it? It's basically monitoring you, and you're playing a game, and it knows that you're just lingering in one spot too much, and flashes a light or something, or maybe haptic feedback, or maybe zaps you or something, so you don't. It just knows that you're fixating in one spot, and it just basically tells your eyes to keep moving. I mean, is that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, my director of R&D is like, Tori, shut up, stop talking. Yeah. But no, I think I mean, some sort of feedback where it tells you versus you exploring for it. It kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Speaking of eye stuff, another thing that I noticed that you guys sold on your website is the gaming glasses, which to me, I've never worn them, but they kind of like look like a gimmick to me. Can you sort of talk about the benefits of that, or
Yeah, sure. So we partnered with Gunnar Optics, like 3 or 4 years ago. And, Gunnar Optics is the creator of gaming eyewear. And they wanted to come out with styles that were really specific for kind of a more hardcore audience. So how could SteelSeries help create that? And it was like small tweaks to their design style that made our product a little bit different than some of their other mainstream products, because ultimately they're screen glasses, right? The whole purpose behind them is that when you're staring at your screen, you actually blink like three times less per minute and that gives you dry eye. It makes you feel more tired. You probably strain your eyes a little bit. The actual glass, the glasses themselves, the actual lenses, actually keep your eyes blinking more often. They actually allow you to kind of relax your optic nerves a little bit more. And there's an entire science behind it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't read it in a little while, so I couldn't go into too much more detail.
Well, although I understand it, because the problem, of course, you have to buy this prescription glass to try it. So I've never tried, but they have it's a little stronger prescription, so it's a little more magnification, from what I understand. And then there's a little more contrast, because there's that kind
like
of yellow,
yellowish
like very slight
tint,
amber.
yeah.
So you increase the contrast, and then you actually increase, the magnification. So it's stronger than you would use everywhere else. But since you're just sitting and you're only staring at, 15 inches in front of you, it's supposed to increase it. So
yeah,
it'd be actually fun to try.
I would.
Yeah.
I'll actually see. I'll
Do
try to
test
send
and
you guys
try.
a pair and see if it makes sense. I mean, you guys need prescriptions, so
Yeah,
we
that's
can
the
work that
problem.
out, though.
Yeah.
You went from a sucky gamer to a slightly less sucky gamer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have the technology to tell me my eyes are getting lazy. So keep moving.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you actually wear
exactly.
the glasses with the eye tracking thing, or is that?
Yeah, so we're working if you have astigmatism as well, regular prescription glasses, contacts. We're working to make sure that anybody.
Yeah.
Like-
Toby's typical eye tracking software allows you to do that. They use it for, medical purposes, all different fields and industries, and obviously people don't have 20/20 all the time. So, yeah, you're allowed to use.
But I meant with even the yellow glasses that you guys saw.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Even with tinted eyewear. Yeah.
Cool. I have some really questions, unless you guys had some other questions you guys wanted to ask.
Well, I just wanted to ask general market conditions because, if we look back you guys have been doing this a long time. We look back 5 years ago, it was like you and maybe 4 other players.
Yeah.
Now there's got to be 30,
Sure.
right? And motherboard companies and graphics cards makers are all making their branded kind of gamer stuff. Is it getting tougher, or, are these guys kind of just saturating the field and keep driving prices down, or is that actually helping because there's more awareness and more innovation from the competition?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of look at it as, there's obviously different types of companies that have entered into the market for different reasons, right? From a peripheral standpoint, I don't know, there's part of me that kind of welcomes more companies into the mix, because for us that really means that the industry as a whole is growing and that there's a market for it, right? Gaming and entertainment, in a world where ultimately people were losing jobs and losing money, was still growing.
Right.
And, for us that was great. It's awesome to see that there have been more companies hopping onto the gaming bandwagon. Yeah, it definitely saturates the market. There are, like motherboards and cases and things that never existed, when we first started here. But that's not really a, direct competition to us.
Right.
I think when you're talking about other peripherals makers, I think you kind of have to decide, what you're looking for in your product, right? And our brand, I think, is really specific. You get comfort and quality, and that's the baseline of all of it. You definitely get some cool bells and whistles along the way. The technology is there. We're always improving. But I think, I think everybody in the gaming world are also kind of conscious consumers. So if you do your homework, you'll come back to the brands that actually really care about what they're doing and put the time and money and effort into making the products that are worth the money. So, I kind of, aside from hopefully I'm answering you properly, but,
no, it's good.
I really think I don't know, I think we welcome it because it doesn't necessarily drown us out. It kind of elevates who we are as a brand.
And then sort of, obviously the other thing is mechanical keyboards. It seems like, I don't know any gamers who prefer membrane keyboards.
Sure.
And I imagine your own research shows that, right? It's all about mechanical for gamers.
Fun little fact, one of the first gaming keyboards was from our team. And, we kind of built out our mechanical keyboard line in like 2007, 2008. We launched the 7G. We launched the 6G V2.
You should see the 7G I have at home.
Oh, I'm sure it looks brutal.
Disgustingly.
That thing is like a tank.
Yeah.
And it will last forever. But, you're seeing other products come to market with additional bells and whistles added to it. What I can tell you is we would never bring something to market that we didn't think was ready. And I think we're coming to a place where if we're going to bring a new mechanical keyboard to market, it has to be ours, 100%. We don't want knockoff switches or things that, we have to compare ourselves to,
It's all about Cherry still, right? Is it?
I think Cherry was the first mechanical switch that was really ever discussed, and people know it by name because of it was really the only one that people knew about. For us, Cherry just means another switch in the market.
Okay.
So I don't think it's all about Cherry. I think it's actually all about things like educating people on what an actuation point is. Are you a click? Do you like to hear the click? Do you like tactile feedback? Things like that. So kind of our thought process over the next few months is helping educate people on what mechanical keyboard really is about, and what you're looking for in it. So you'll definitely hear more from us on the mechanical
I guess that is a problem, right? Because when everybody talks about, what
color do you prefer?
Right, I know. Yeah. It's so Cherry, the brand is so huge now. It's like, brown, red, whatever.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's not just about Cherry because there's other makers.
And I mean, Cherry kind of came to the world, and it wasn't really, Cherry wasn't defined for gaming. It just so happened that that was the one that the gaming market peripherals chose to put into their boards. But I mean, that was ultimately for like typists and office settings and things of that nature. So they weren't, gaming defined. There was no rhyme or reason about them. They kind of existed. And whether you like a slower actuation, something real quick and clickable and tactile, that's how you would define the color. But nobody kind of has gone back to the drawing board and said, well, what is a gaming mechanical switch supposed to be like,
I think Razer actually did. I think their green switches are like the first switches for gamers or something like that. That's how they were marketing it anyways.
But I forget who makes their switches on that one.
Yeah, that is how they're marketing it. I'll just say that.
Yeah. But it just seemed like there could be some more industry standard, but maybe people need to understand actuation points.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's an education too, because if you're going to drop, a couple $100 on a keyboard, you want that keyboard for the reasons why you're buying it.
Right.
And I don't know, telling someone that I'm a brown switch person, I mean, does that mean anything really? Right. As a player, that doesn't really define how you like choose and want your style of keyboard. So, I think that's something that our team is working right now and trying to help people define. So we'll have some stuff coming to market to help talk about it a little bit more.
I feel like educating people who haven't used mechanical keyboards is probably the hardest part. Without actually feeling what the different switch types feel like, it's really hard to describe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I almost wish you guys or somebody would like send out like WASD, like a little sample.
I've actually seen those. Yeah.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah. They do exist, but they're not. They're all the. I think I just get them on Amazon for like $10. I want to say.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It'd be cool if you could just
testers.
like you put down a pre-order for this, and then you get sent the different switch types, and you have to send them back. Like just WASD, get a taste of what it feels like before you commit or something like that.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's in the old days you'd walk into your
Best Buy
Comp USA and you'd be
Yeah.
like, hey, I like this keyboard, but now it's like I'm gonna buy 3 of them on Amazon and return it to you. It's like
Yeah.
You can buy something called a switch tester on Amazon. They have one for as low as $13. I'll give you their.
Oh, does it have different grades on the same?
Yeah, this one looks like red, black, blue, and brown.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea that of paying like $13 to see which keyboard you want to buy.
That's pretty tough.
It's still not ideal. You'd want to be able to walk into like a Best Buy or some
and
other
just
type store.
test it out. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point, actually.
I'd go with Gordon's move and just buy 3 and then send 2 back.
Right. Well, then it's like, you know what? I'm going to save the other 2, and then there's $400.
And make sure you do that to SteelSeries products.
Right. Where's the check?
Do you guys have any other questions, or should I just move to the read questions?
I always like to ask, what do you think is your best-selling product right now? Your most popular one?
Do you want to go at it?
Yeah. For me, it's Siberia V2, and then hopefully Siberia V3 here, since we're announcing it today.
Cool.
Yeah. I think from like a headset category, hands down V2. Right now, actually, our rival optical mouse is probably one of the best-selling products we've got.
Oh.
We launched the rival, March this year?
No, I think it was like actually last year.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. Time
Well,
flies.
Sorry, guys. So we launched our rival optical mouse, and it was the first like right-handed mouse we had done in a long time because all the senseis are actually ambidextrous. So we took a gamble, went with right-handed optical. We added illumination, rubberized grip to it, and I think that's our best-selling one right now. Our best-selling product overall. I think if you were going to talk. If you want to talk headset category, for some crazy reason, it's our Sibera V2 illuminated product. So we have a Sibera Frost Blue illuminated headset. But it's funny because everybody seems to love illumination. I get it, but
Color coordination.
Yeah. Oh gosh, we dug our heels in the ground for a long time before we put any illumination on things, and all of a sudden realized, well, if we make it with a purpose, if you can assign profiles to it and things of that nature, then we can justify it. And sure enough, anybody in our office, when they get something new that illuminates, like the first thing they do is just change the color of the product first. So.
Yeah. Right. You want your gear to match your keyboard, your mouse.
Yeah.
And your shirt and your pants.
Yeah. Exactly.
I have like 5 different keyboards for my outfits, right, depending on what I wear that week. Right. Okay, cool. So I guess I'll move on to reader questions. Richard Mallard asks, I need a monaural headset that is light, that has a boom mic with USB and offers 10 times noise cancellation. Oh, and small and portable. Do you guys make anything like that?
Wow. I think that's called get a throat mic. It's just not.
Yeah.
Do we make anything like that? I guess out of all those things, he would have to say what's like the most important thing for him, and then we could probably recommend what you would choose, because I think we've got something of each that he's asked in all of these products here.
I'll be him. I want all of them in one.
Okay.
And I want it for free.
Okay. Well, surprisingly, you're not going to get it for free.
I tried, man. I tried.
Yeah. I would say honestly, if you're looking for something that's all encompassing, that kind of gives you everything bang for your buck, and you're not willing to like really spend the money on it, if you go with Sibera V3 Prism, you'll get a lot for your money there. It gives you kind of all of those things that you're looking for. If you're looking to spend a little bit more, you want Dolby, you want surround sound, you want all those goodies packed in, then I would say drop $200, do it right.
Okay. Eric Lynn asks, what does SteelSeries think their mice offers which other mice don't? Why should my next mouse be a SteelSeries? And also he follows up and asks, in a world where all kids care about is ridiculously high DPI, actual sensor performance is being left on the wayside.
And do you want to take this one?
Sure, yeah. So we put a lot of time and thought into what sensors we use in our mice, and then also the big thing for us introducing with the Rival and then with the Sensei Wireless, which I'm not sure if you tested when you first got it, was we have our own SteelSeries brand switches now in our mice. So it's a 50 million click lifespan. They have a different feel than what we have in the Sensei. I would definitely do like a side-by-side and see if you have an older SteelSeries product and if you can get your hands on either Rival or Sensei Wireless for the first two with the actual SteelSeries switches in it. That's where we started to build the performance on our own side of things. To be able to have our own proprietary gaming switches and a mouse is a huge thing, because now we can provide our own unique feel that you'll only get with our mice, which is, something that we always strive to do.
Cool. Zachary Soprano, he actually has a pretty harsh question.
Oof.
Why are SteelSeries products so much compared to other brands? So he's basically saying you guys are kind of expensive.
On the expensive side.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's not a matter of like building in massive margins or anything. We honestly use quality products inside of our gear, and it really comes down to that. We use higher quality things on the inside, and the tooling of the product on the outside, is probably some of the least expensive portions of it. So, why is it so expensive? I don't know. It's one of those things where if you want to buy something, on the cheaper or less expensive side, know that you'll probably have to buy 2 or 3 of them because they will likely break over time. Or do you spend, $30 to $50 more and only have to buy one for, a decent lifespan.
Okay. Anthony Belfort asks, can they exchange my white Siberia Elite for a black one?
Sure, just send me an email.
Yeah.
Draw me an email at tori@steelseries.com.
Yeah.
There you go, man. Anthony, don't tell us we never gave you anything.
We'll make that happen, dude.
Wait, should we
Lazaro,
edit that email address out? Or
Yeah, am I going to get super spammed?
I don't know.
Hate mail?
Lazaro asks, why are mechanical keyboards awesome, but mechanical mice suck?
Huh.
Can he be more specific?
Yeah.
Well, I think you're
That's
saying
all he
mechanical's better on keyboard because of that tactile analog feel.
Yeah.
It's like, how come I guess what he's saying, how come my ball mouse low DPI where I can feel as I roll the ball over that encrusted little roller,
Right.
why isn't that good?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
That is a good point.
And it's kind of interesting how mechanical keyboards sort of came back, because we sort of had them back in the day.
Right. The old spring-loaded IBMs.
Exactly, yeah. And then all of a sudden, just in the past couple of years, they just exploded again. That's kind of odd, too.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a better experience. Although there are people who just love membrane keyboards. And they even like those horrible Mac keyboards. You know, the flat ones, they have no travel.
The like scissor switch ones that are like,
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, we have some people like that here in the office.
It's like typing on a laptop.
try to
It's a
avoid
terrible
it.
experience.
Yeah, I have
my
I have trouble with
fantasy
mine
is a
too.
laptop with mechanical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost wonder, like, are you talking about profile, right? Key profile? Like, do you prefer higher profile keys, lower profile keys? Because that's what you don't see, right? Majority of gaming keyboards are like the higher profile, longer travel distance, that type of thing, and you get that clickiness to it. So I don't know. I think it's like a preference. I think I just have this like whole spiel on how like mechanical keyboards just needs to be a better educated product, right? And like why you would want certain things versus others. So, podcast number 2.
Donnie M asks, probably the most common question asked, but is there a backlit 6G or 7G keyboard in the works? If so, when can we expect it?
Was it Donnie?
Donnie M, yes.
Donnie M, I can probably tell you that just to kind of stay tuned, follow us on Facebook if you haven't yet.
Soon.
I'd guess 8G, probably when that's open there.
All right, final question. AA asks, will mechanical keyboards ever go down below the $50 price range?
Oof, that's tough. There's so many expensive components that go into it. I mean, just like the, components, just the plastic alone would be around that price. And then you add in like, the gold connectors and springs and all of that material. I mean, I feel like that's, unless all of a sudden we find like a big deposit of,
Yeah.
like metal in just like, in either like the middle of Siberia or something, no pun intended.
I don't know.
Like,
I feel like in a perfect world, maybe. But I doubt it. I think, each individual switch has to register properly on the board, and it's a lot of inner components. Maybe. I don't see it in our short future, but
yeah.
Isn't it going to shouldn't prices eventually get better as the scale? Right now it's so fairly niche, but as it's getting bigger and bigger and more mainstream.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of prices are driven by, what the factory charges for parts. And if the factory is creating more parts, their cost less in money. So the larger the market becomes of people wanting mechanical keyboards, the less in money they'll be. So tell your friends to buy a mechanical.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
You can get it cheaper if you just buy 10 of them.
Yeah,
so
if you
just
buy
keep
more.
buying them.
This is a long-term play. In 20 years, they'll be that price. You just have to keep buying them now.
Cool. So I'm about to wrap it up unless you guys had something else you guys wanted to say or anything.
No, that's pretty much it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah, no worries. All right, so you can check us out online at www.maximumpc.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can email us at maximumpcpodcast@gmail.com or send us a message at our 24-hour No BS podcast hotline at 1-877-404-1337, extension 1337. You can also subscribe to us on Google Play, iTunes, Kindle, Nook, and Zinio. On behalf of the Maximum PC crew, thank you for listening.